So in today's video, I'm sharing about the let them theory and how it breaks the cycle of codependency. But if you're new, my name's Michelle Ferris and I'm a psychotherapist and I love helping people create relationships that work. So the let them theory was written by Mel Robbins a few years back, and I just read it and I absolutely love the book because it really condenses codependency recovery by using a simple tool that works. Basically, the let them theory goes like this. You're letting other people be who they are, make their own decisions and choices without stepping in to fix it or change it. Now, in codependency recovery, this is really detachment coupled with acceptance. And those are two really powerful concepts that can really transform your life and your relationships, which is why I'm doing this video today. If you've read this book, say me too in the comments. I'm so excited to dive in. So here's what the let 'em theory looks like in relationships. Your father-in-law says some snide remark about you going back to school. Instead of reacting and getting upset, you let him. Maybe your adult kid is making a decision that you really don't agree with, and you want to get in there and fix it. Instead, you let them. You have a coworker that's super negative. Instead of letting that get you down, you let them. This principle is so powerful because it focuses on an essential truth. We don't have control over other people. What they think, what they say, what they do. We only have control over ourselves. And this book is a great read for that reason because it really simplifies a basic concept that can literally change how you do relationship. Because what it does is it redirects that energy away from what other people are doing back onto yourself, which is your point of power. Now in codependency, we get lost in other people. We feel compelled to help or rescue or fix the situation because we think our happiness is tied to making other people happy or by over-functioning and wiping ourselves out in the process. So instead of worrying and obsessing over what other people are doing, you're going to redirect that focus back to yourself. Our attitudes, our actions, our beliefs, that's what we can control with 100% certainty. Now this sounds simple, but the other reason I love this book is that Mel talks about it as a practice. She doesn't tote that she's the expert and she does this perfectly. She does it in her day-to-day life and saw a huge change. Even though in some situations, this is going to be hard. So an example of this that Mel talks about in the book is she was scrolling Facebook and noticed that her friends had gone away on a girls' weekend. And she was super hurt that she was left out of it. And she started spiraling and thinking all these kinds of negative thoughts and feeling compelled to reach out and ask why wasn't she invited. And her husband, knowing that she practiced this theory, kind of reminded her, hey, you haven't seen these people in a long time, have you? And it made her realize, oh, she was getting upset over something that she had no control over. And she realized that was what she could control, is her part in that situation, which was that she hadn't kept up with those friendships. And it made sense that they took a trip without her because it had been several years since she had contact with any of them. And that's how her let them theory brought her back to her center, because she realized what her part in it was. And this leads to part 2 of the book, which is let me. And I love this because this is about let me do my part. Let me be accountable for what I say and do and how I react to other people. Because it's really important in recovery to take responsibility for what we do in our lives, whether that's managing our emotions or not cultivating friendships or simply just not doing things that move our life forward. Maybe we're stuck in the past. But let me was another really important concept in this book because she talks about how that is our way of being accountable. And when you think of the Serenity Prayer, it brings us back to controlling the things we can versus letting go of the control we don't have, which is people, places, and things. So here's a simple way to start practicing the let go theory. Start noticing when your focus starts to drift towards other people, what they're thinking, what they're doing that's bothering you, what you feel compelled to change or fix or speak up about that may have nothing to do with you. Then I want you to shift that focus back to yourself. Because think about it, in your everyday life, you're probably focusing on other people a lot. And if you're codependent, this can take on an obsessive quality. And this is the cornerstone of codependency recovery, is to get the focus off of other people and what they're doing and back onto ourselves so we can take our power back and we can live our own life and take responsibility for our own choices, because that's how she created a better life. She didn't create a better life by simply letting people be who they were. She also coupled it by finding the let me part of the theory, which was her being able to take responsibility for her own choices. Imagine how much emotional and mental energy you're going to save by bringing the focus back to you. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be a quick fix, and that's the other reason I love this book, is because she talks about it as a practice. In your daily life, practice let them. Let somebody else be who they are. That doesn't mean you have to stay and participate in it. That's where the detachment comes in. You may choose to leave or not participate in that conversation. Or you may choose to speak up and say, I just need to let you know that that hurts my feelings. So the let them theory doesn't mean we're a doormat, but it also means that we can't control what other people do. Because even when we try to set a boundary, even when we speak up, that doesn't mean they're going to change their behavior, because ultimately taking care of ourselves is our responsibility, not somebody else's. And in codependency, we can expect other people to make us happy. That's where the let me part of the theory is really powerful, because we take ownership for our own happiness instead of relying on other people. So at the core of this let 'em theory is detachment and radical acceptance. The more we practice letting other people be who they are, the more we free ourselves from feeling responsible for what they're doing in their life or their choices. And the less you're going to find yourself being triggered by what they say and do. Because if I'm not focusing on them so much, but I'm focusing on what I need to do today or what I need to make myself happy, what that other person is doing is not going to throw me off center as much. So the detachment part of the let them theory is really powerful for preserving your serenity. And here's the magic part of it. When you accept others for who they are, they're going to feel loved, and that will majorly shift your relationships into being more healthy. Because codependent relationships tend to be based on control and unrealistic expectation. And if you can use this theory of let them, you're going to be able to show that you love them and accept them for who they are. Now, if they're toxic or unhealthy for you, then you have a choice to make. But you can use the let them theory to decide whether or not you need to keep that relationship going. Because part of where we get stuck is trying to change the outcome, trying to make a relationship better. But we only have control over our half of that relationship. So the let them theory helps you recognize what is realistic to expect out of that person and what isn't. And that can often be a major turning point in leaving a toxic relationship. So how does the let them theory break the cycle of codependency? The let them theory challenges this cycle of over-functioning in relationship and taking responsibility for things that aren't ours and trying to solve everyone else's problems. It invites the other person to handle their own life without us interfering. And by doing this and shifting that focus away from them and towards you and what you need, that's going to break the cycle of codependency, because it's automatically going to create a healthy balance for you. You're no longer overstepping into someone else's life or someone else's decision making. If your adult child makes a bad choice, you let them. If your partner is annoying, let them. If that person is rude at the grocery store or somebody's driving erratically, let them. Because the let me is what you can do to take care of yourself. How we use that is to detach from what's happening and protect ourselves, because that's what we have control over. We can't change somebody else's behavior, and that's why I think this book is a must read for anybody, especially if you're codependent. It's such a wonderful tool to practice noticing where you're reacting, because part of what happens when we're codependent is we're reacting all over the place to other people. And the let them is going to put a stop to that. Because the minute I notice myself reacting, because now I'm practicing this, I notice, oh, I'm giving my power away. I'm literally letting that other person destroy my serenity, and I don't want that. Because sometimes we have to ask ourselves, how important is it? Do we really want somebody else's behavior to ruin our day? That's the power this book has, is to show you how to practice a simple tool of detachment and acceptance so that you can create the kind of relationships you want. The other thing I really like about the let me part of the theory is that it's all about being accountable, because most of us have a hard time doing that. It's really easy to focus on what other people are doing wrong, but it takes a lot of work and integrity to focus on what we're doing wrong. But that's the point of power we have. And that's why this book is going to be so helpful for you, because it's going to help you stop that negative cycle of reacting and getting triggered and bringing yourself back to what choices you have in the moment to live a better life. You can't make somebody stop what they're doing, but you can choose what to do next. So the next thing I want you to do is go watch my video on practicing acceptance, because that's your next step. And be sure to buy the book. I'm not an affiliate or anything, but I absolutely think this is a must read. Thanks so much.